Orlando is a hot market. People are coming to Florida. They love Orlando. It's expanding. I think every time I go down I-4, all of a sudden I see a new crane up that's going. So how do you best prepare your client with the property, especially in a hot market like Orlando?
You know, the funny thing is when it comes to selling real estate is I think a lot of real estate agents, and people, investors, right? Is that mainly your audience and real estate investors?
It could be investors, really anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So from a real estate agent perspective, well, from any perspective, actually, if you're trying to sell a house, even if you're a homeowner, if you're trying to sell a house, you have to understand, I kind of, that the whole speech is essentially to a real estate agent. You need to prepare your client, and if you are the client and you are the homeowner, you need to prepare yourself for the idea that, there's another side to this. I think so many people think that they're just going to list their home on for sale by owner or Zillow or whatever, and then an agent's going to bring a buyer, and that agent is going to somehow get them the best deal. But the truth is, if you don't understand the market, you have to understand that person represents, just like you, Al. You're an attorney. You represent your side. Whoever pays you, your side.
Right.
And so it's your responsibility. And as real estate agents, it's very similar in the way that we represent the side that hired us, that we went under contract with, whether it was a buyer agreement or a listing agreement. And so if you're a listing agent in this case, you need to prepare your seller that that's what the buyer's agent's going to do. They're going to they might offer $20,000 too much just because they know they're going to beat us up after inspection. And so if you know that ahead of time as the listing agent, you can prepare. And so if you prepare your client for that, and when you start getting these offers in, you don't just accept the one that's 30, 40,000 over asking cash without a proof of funds, right? And so some of those things that a lot of people don't understand. And so you definitely have to prepare. And then you have to position, right? And so like I always say, prepare your client. For my team, on my real estate team, my buyer's agents, I let them know. I say, if you send me a listing, it's my listing, because you don't want to have a whole bunch of hands in the cookie jar trying to figure out what's going on. And so I just give them a referral fee and say, let me handle it. I will get the most amount of money for it. And it's just building a relationship and understanding that at the end of the day, you're going to prepare them. You're going to position the home. Right. So many people are like, it's not like selling a car, right, Al? If you're going to go sell your Bugatti, you're going to go sell it. I know you got one. Come on.
Oh, I got one. You know that.
Okay. So you're going to go sell your Bugatti. You're going to put it on. The funny thing about, I can trail off sometimes, but this is why on my show, I actually have a script that I loosely follow, because my mind is all over the place sometimes. But the funny thing about cars is actually they are like houses. The more expensive they are. Like you buy a Bugatti, 10 years from now, it might be worth 30, 40,000 more, or $1 million more, or whatever it is. So anyways, but traditional cars, right? Like $20,000, $30,000 car, they lose value. So people will go and put them on Craigslist or something like that at a high rate. And then they expect that people are going to, offer lowball them, right? They expect that. They expect it. However, in real estate, unless you're an investor, people don't do that. People see the house for $200,000, they just go look at another house. If their budget is, let's say, 200 and your house is 250, but all the houses around your house are 220. I'm trying to just keep it general here. If all the houses around your house are 220, they're not going to say, hey, your house is overpriced. They don't want you to get offended. So they'll just go buy another house. Now, your house will sit on the market for a long time. And then this is where positioning is so important. Positioning, let's say the home should sell for, all the homes in the area are selling for 220. If you position it right at 220, or even at 215, let's say, because all the homes in that area were selling for 220, the amount of traffic that you're going to get, especially if your house is a little bit nicer than some of the other ones, not all of them, but on average, some of them, you're going to get so much traffic. You're positioning it so that we have 20 or 30 offers. And that one person, think about it statistically, there's going to be 2 or 3 in there that have solid cash. They're going to close. They would have just went and bought one of the 220 ones instead of yours for 250. They never even saw your property. And so that's what a lot of homeowners don't realize. So that's the positioning part of it. If you can position it, you'll create somewhat of a bidding war. And then instead of getting 220, or 225, you got them all the way up to maybe back up to 250. I've had it happen, So on the listing agent side, positioning is everything. You have to understand how to position it. And of course, there's the promotion side of it. If you've positioned it properly and I've prepared the listing agent to know that, hey, let me handle it, and then I can promote it. And so the promotion side of it's pretty basic. It's not hard. It's not difficult, but you have to know what you're doing. The promotion side of it, it's what I call the mighty open house. And what I actually do is I throw Mighty on front of everything. I got a Mighty Sprite here and a
but
Mighty.
That's the brand. That's the beauty of the brand. I love it.
Yeah, branding is everything. So
it is.
So the open house. I don't want to just rattle on for everything. Did you have something you wanted to say about that?
No, I think when you're doing it the right way with positioning yourself in that market, you'll succeed. Are you finding there's a certain type of property that you're really focusing on in the Orlando market being so hot, like not on really the luxury side or land, but like either multifamily or a certain price range that you're seeing in Orlando that seems to be pretty hot?
Yeah, what's funny is the luxury side is really hot. Even during COVID, luxury homes were selling like crazy. I mean, Shaq's home finally sold for 11 million. I mean, he had, but people are paying cash for these properties for, 1 million up to 4 million. The 250,000 to 350,000 has always been, the fast moving homes, kind of like those starter homes. But once you get out of there and you get into the cash buyer range, it's funny because after you get a 700,000, it's considered luxury, but it's not until you get to about the million or 1.2 that the market is a buyer's market. So if I get a listing that's like 1.5, maybe 2 million, it's a good chance it's going to sit on the market for a few months, and that's normal. But also in this market, it's kind of like that area is kind of a buyer's market.
That's interesting. After it gets past a certain price point, it's actually shifting to a different type of market. See, I don't know that kind of stuff because I'm not in your world. All I see is like that the legal side, and so I don't see like what's happening on price points. But like if you go past that number, you're seeing a shift.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I mean, in a broad range, it's definitely a seller's market still. But what I'm saying is like it'll sit on the market longer than something that's like for 250 range. Also something that a lot of people don't know that I was just blown away. But that some people are like, oh, it's just a seller's market. But if you search, like, for example, in my area, if you search down like Davenport, Kissimmee area, those homes traditionally fly off the shelves. But right at the end of 2020, those homes were sitting on the market and it was just completely saturated in that one community of Airbnb because all of the investors were like, we got to get rid of these, and so I had people calling me in droves saying, hey, I gotta we gotta sell our home. And I'm this, I'm somewhat of a new agent, as far as actual being an agent. And so I started calling I cold call every day. This is one of the things that I specialize in, is calling people and asking if they want to sell. And this one guy answers and he's like, yeah, but nobody could sell it. And I was like, I'll sell anything. I'll sell it fast. Let's do it. I could do it. And then I looked up the comps and I'm like, nah, this isn't right. Why is there 150 homes for sale in his neighborhood? And it was because it was a buyer's market. Nobody was trying to buy Airbnb properties at that time. I haven't looked at it here for a little bit, but that's, yeah, some pockets are actually buyer's markets depending on what's in that area.
Because we were just talking about building your testimonial list.
Right.
Hey, I know you remember me. We bought your house over on 123 ABC Street 6 months ago, and I wanted to check in on you, see how you guys are doing. Great. I'm glad you're doing great. I actually was wondering if I could ask you a favor. So I'm still doing the business, and I'm still working on solving problems for other homeowners just like you. And I was wondering if I could get a testimonial from you. Of course, they'll be happy to do it. If you did a good job and you built the rapport and you followed through, they should have no reason not to. And while you're doing that, and while you're rebuilding rapport and revisiting, by the way, you know what? I need to apologize to you. I actually need to apologize because I actually realized I didn't give you a full service. I didn't actually tell you how I bought your house. And see where it can seamlessly come back to that. So even if you didn't do it up till now, you could actually go back to the other ones and rebuild that process. I can tell you we have raised millions of dollars from previous sellers because you have built that credibility and you've already solved the what's my security, and you've actually solved the like you, trust you, and then you followed through. So now you should already be at the believe in you point. So it's a phenomenal thing.
I got to tell you, Dave, we've been going for almost an hour and 30, and the viewership has only gone up since
that's
that
awesome.
time. And it's been amazing because people are taking so many notes and they're getting so much info from it. And I know if you are loving this, drop a comment. If you have any questions for Dave while we're still live, we will answer them. I see Trent. Trent, how you doing? All the way from Sarasota, Trent. He said he tried commenting in something else, and he said, any pushback when people ask, how do you find out about pain point? He goes, that. I love the approach, though, of not jumping straight to price by saying cash offer. I'm going to use this scripting. Look at that.
Oh, I hope you do. And that's a great question about the pushback. Here's the cool thing. Remember, who's in control of the conversation is whoever actually takes control. Okay, and there really is a powerful point to understanding how communication works. And one of the key points, I'm not going to go into, because we actually do, Mo, who's on the call, has been a student of mine for a while. And so he will absolutely tell you that we go into the science of communication. We go into the science of the thought process. It's not enough just to know the what's. You need to know the how's, and you need to know the why's. It really makes a difference. By the way, going back to the D's, and it applies to that, the 4 D's, death, divorce, disaster, detention. Those are the roots. Now, how do you find that? You actually go into the symptoms, the pain points. Think about this. We go for the tax delinquent, we go for the code enforcement, we go for the Liz pendants, we go for the pre-probate, we go for the abandoned house. Those types of things are there, but those are the symptoms. The roots go back to the 4 D's. Okay, tax delinquent. Well, people who don't have a problem pay their taxes. HOA foreclosures, they would have paid their HOAs if they didn't have a problem. They would have paid their mortgage if they didn't have a problem, so on and so forth. So going back to those things, you see those pain points and you point that out. So I noticed the property was going up for taxes, but that's not the root. And so that's not the end of it. And if they do ask, you were talking about the pushback. Well, I actually I actually like to address those like the elephant in the room. If they bring it up, I try not to make a big deal out of it. I actually try not to make a big deal out of it, because if you don't make a big deal out of it, they won't either. How did you get my number? Oh, one of those online search engines. You know, there's no privacy anymore. And I go on. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's true. There's no privacy. They agree with me, and we move on. How did you find out? Well, it was on the tax deed sale list. I was actually going to bid on it, but I thought, you know what? I may need to give you a holler and see if you even know that it's going up there, or, you know, see if you have any plans. I may be able to help you, because I hate for it to go to tax deed sale and you not end up with anything out of it. Okay, move right on. If you don't make a huge deal out of it, I turned it back into the service I'm offering, not why and how. Don't worry about that. You address it, and I like to be straightforward on it. I don't like to pussyfoot around it. I don't like to just say, you know, oh, well, it was. If you start feeling guilty about it, they're going to jump on that. Okay, but if you don't make a big deal out of it, okay, I put $1 down on the contract. What am I going to do with $1? Frame it. On to the next question. See, those are the things. If you don't make a big deal, they won't. Control the situation by addressing it and moving on. So to answer your question, you address it. How did you find the pain point? Well, it was public records.
Look at that.
And move on to back to the solution. I wanted to see if I could help you come up with a solution for your place so that you don't end up losing out all the way. And then go back to asking them questions about the situation. Because again, if you listen long enough, they'll tell you the problem. If you listen even longer, they'll tell you how to solve it.
And take it from Dave, because you keep listening, you're going to figure out all these things and find the solutions to these problems. So,
absolutely.
Another great question from Trent. So, and great answer from Dave.
Thanks.
Dylan says, great info. Dave, what are some of the most common problems that you solve for sellers that a quick cash offer won't fix? I'm trying to build my tool belt of help I can offer.
Oh, absolutely. So depending, again, with the abandoned are my favorite deals. Now, I absolutely will go after other types of properties as well, but I'm looking for personally the highest equity situations and the situations along those lines. So when I am seeing an abandoned house, some of the problems that we're resolving is, number one, a house that's abandoned is not an asset. It's a liability in and of itself, because God forbid somebody slips and falls on the place, or a dog bites someone, or a squatter jumps into the property and hurts themselves. This is no longer an asset to you. It's a liability. Those taxes, the code enforcement that goes against their name, you're solving that problem all in and of itself. We do in many cases. I'm not saying this is every time, and it's definitely a more advanced strategy, but we do a thing called deeds for dollars, where if the solution, in many cases, we will offer, if the offer is low enough, if the property can be bought for low enough, and then you resolve the situations yourself, we'll take a quick claim deed and we'll pay them cash, or, you know, obviously it could be a cashier check or whatever, but we'll pay them prior to a closing. Now, like I said, don't try this at home without some backing, without somebody who can help you and make sure you're getting the right deal, and make sure you are finding out, i.e. that book, DIY title search. That's a huge, I mean, I do my own title searches. Of course, we use title companies and such, but I will spend up to $20,000 Absolutely. There you go. I will spend up to $20,000 to buy a place on my own search before I will invest in the title search and such. And again, don't try this at home without knowing what you're doing, having gone through it. Get the title search from the title company. By the way, if you're in the Florida market, you can reach out to me. I will give you access to an O&E guy who will do private title searches for you for on average 50 to 60 bucks.
Cool.
Yeah, and he can usually get them back to you in a day or two. So that can be another part of how you can solve those problems. But each of those points, the pain point is the problem. Okay, the root may be the D's, but the pain point is what they are addressing, and what the problem is that you can help solve. So it could be code enforcement, it could be the back taxes, it could be other liens and such.
Tell us about Jdog, and you got into Jdog. How did you get into Jdog? Where, at what point did you get in? And tell us what the business does.
So you mean got into it? It's it's been a little over 4 years now. So yeah, just that meeting at Everbank Field with Rob and talking about what we wanted to do. And then it's even gone beyond that, because not only do we do the residential commercial cleanouts that your traditional junk moving companies do, we also do light demolition. So, we can tear out cabinets, floors, walls. I mean, you name it, we do that. If you have an old hot tub, shed that has to go away, old deck that has to go, we can do that stuff too. We also have up in Northeast Florida, 12-yard roll-off dumpsters. So we work with some new home builders. We work with construction companies. We work with roofing companies. And so say in the real estate world, you've met a lot of guys that are flipping, they're investing in real estate and doing their thing. Well, they may not want somebody to come in there to do the demolition. They want to do it themselves. We can just drop off a dumpster and they can do it themselves. Anybody can, in a residential area, somebody can do that. We'll put down some wood on the driveway, put the dumpster down so you can go through it. Especially say it's a family, the parents just passed, the kids, they have all this stuff, a lot of memories.
Right.
And so it's going to take time. So they don't want just somebody to come in there and just start grabbing all the stuff because they need time to go through it to make sure that those memories, they're able to hold on to that stuff and make some tough decisions.
Right.
So that's where us having that other platform where we can drop the dumpster down and they can go through it up to 7 days gives them that time to do what they want. Any furniture left behind, and if it's in great shape, that's going back to our warehouse. It's not going to landfill. It's going back to our warehouse. And then different organizations like HUD-VASH, which help homeless veterans, and Rethreaded, and Operation Barnabas, and all these different folks that are out there doing great things. Hope for Veterans. We'll get a call from HUD-VASH, say we've got another veteran just got an apartment. Can you help them out? We set up an appointment. They come in our warehouse, and anything that doesn't already have a name on it, it's theirs if they want it. And it's great. So services, your garage is, you need something decluttered, we'll make that stuff. Could be the attic. Don't really have a whole lot of basements here in Florida, but backyard's got a bunch of stuff. I mean, swing sets, you name it, we can make it go. If you have an annoying neighbor that's got to go, Jdog can make that happen too. I'm just kidding.
I was about to ask tell me a story
Just kidding now. There's just a lot of stuff that we do. But again, to go back, the giving back part, man, it's just awesome.
Nothing like it.
So I don't know if I answered all, gave you all the
this-
information that you needed, but
This is great stuff.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people may look at it and say, I don't exactly know what's involved, how it happens, where do you guys come involved?
Okay.
So, I mean, take us from the beginning. Like, how does somebody even get to you? What is the first steps? What's the process?
Yeah.
Like, what does it look like? Because for me, I've never gone through that before, right? I've heard of some families, like you said, they have those situations. Maybe grandma is going to assisted living,
yes.
and
Yep.
the house is totally cluttered. She's kept everything in there. I've seen that before. So, and then everybody's got to move everything out, and what a process that is. I mean, it is a lot of work on heirs. It's a lot of work on family, on children. So tell us, like, from the beginning, how you get in that picture from step 1 through step 10 and beyond.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah. So you can go on your phone and jdog.com, call 844-GET-JDOG. We have Facebook, Jdog Junk Removal and Hauling Jacksonville. Any of those platforms, because I can tell you right now, before I started doing this, I never even noticed a junk removal truck on the road because I do stuff myself. I just, so it's really, that's all you have to do. Just search. You want appliance, your appliance is gone. You want hot tub gone, but you call us up or send us an email, say, this is what I have. And we'll set up a time for a free estimate. We'll come out, and 9 times out of 10, when we show up for the estimate, we're ready to do the job right then. Sometimes, we may not be able to, and we'll communicate that when it happens. But that's another huge piece of it too, the communication part. From the time we set up that estimate, you're going to know when we're coming. If we're running a little late, which can happen, we're not going to wait 5 minutes before we're supposed to be there to call you up. We're going to give you a window. I mean, I hate to do windows, but we're going to do a 2 to 4 hour window. But I can tell you, we're going to try to be as close to the front side of that window as we can. And if we're not, we're going to call you up and let you know. It's really just that simple. And so, like I said, we have demolition crews that can come in there and do whatever you need done.
Right.
We've even done stuff where we've showed up to a house where we can do some labor. You just needed stuff moved around.
Gotcha.
So
it's a great service.
It's really that simple. Just call us. All you do is search Jdog, and you either email us or call us, and we'll take care of business. Raymond Cassidy is our regional manager. He's a combat medic, Army combat medic veteran, and he does not mess around. When you call him, he just makes things happen. You call me, I'm going to pass you on to him, but I'm going to answer any questions that you may have. But everybody from the owner on down, if there's stuff going on where we're so busy, and say we get a call from a realtor or a property management company, and they need something done, it's like, I know this is last minute. Our schedule may be full. Whether I've got to get on a truck, I've got to get, call my son up, have him help me out. We're going to make it happen if you're in a pinch. That's just what we do. So,
and you really, I can see the way you get into it. Like, you really talk about it with that. We help people. We give back. We're ready to be there. You have that mindset, and that's different with a company, right? A lot of companies, if they don't have that drive, that passion, that's where they can go to the wayside. But where the success is happening for Jdog is that mindset, and it takes like that military background and knowing that you want to provide that service to people. So before we get into a story, I want you to think about a really good story that you got to tell, because success stories actually play a role in for people and they relate to it.
That's the power of having the right mindset. Right? Is your glass half empty or half full?
Half full. Like that. Yeah. How are you seeing it? Right. That's the mindset that you have. And when you go into real estate, you have to have that positive mindset, the can-do mindset. There's gonna be a struggle, right? Like Ron, I mean, I'm sure you've got stories for days on different things on the learning curve, but you have to have that mindset. So keep going, because like that is great stuff that you have in the book. So mindset.
Yeah, after mindset is definitely going to be an attitude of gratitude. If mindset is the foundation of a house, being grateful are the bricks of the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So why is being grateful so important? Because gratitude shifts your mindset, right? Being thankful gives you room for more abundance to come into your life. Now, I'm not talking about The Secret or the Law of Attraction. Yes, those are great, and they've been phenomenal for a lot of people, right? But gratitude is important because what you appreciate is going to increase in value, right? So if I'm waking up every morning, I don't look at my phone first thing in the morning. Why? Because there's bad news on the phone. Right. I don't train my mindset to have that bad news. I'll sit there for a good 10, 15 minutes and meditate, think about my day, talk about how grateful I am to have another day to be able to impact someone's life, right? I'm grateful for my students. I'm grateful for my businesses. I'm grateful for my spouse. I'm grateful for my children, to be alive, to be able to impact so many people, right? And there's so many things you can be grateful for at the end of the day, right? Either it's relationships, right? Your happiness. And trust me, when you start practicing this, you start getting less stress in your life, right? Because stress is a silent killer. It truly is an epidemic. People die more of stress than anything. It's a silent killer.
So also tell us about some of these other concepts that you have in the book, like building rapport, right? Whether building rapport with other investors, or maybe lenders or title companies or all the other real estate adjacent people around you. And just so you know, Ron, you're dropping gems, because Robert Rodriguez, Robert, thanks for watching. He's dropping gems right there on the screen. So that's huge. Yeah, just go check out Ron's content too. It's all.
Make sure you guys are dropping your comments. Make sure you're asking questions. Again, this is a phenomenal show, Al. So thank you. If you're tuning in right now, make sure you're dropping all your comments and questions. We love to answer those.
Yeah, we love it. We want engagement, right? We want people asking questions to Ron, how he got here, what he's doing today, anything in the book, because those are powerful things that we could talk about on the show live while we got his attention. Because after today, we don't know. Ron's he's touring around, he's speaking, but we got him right now. So ask away, Robert, ask away, Frank. I see you guys out there. So Ron, talk to us about the concept of building rapport. Because but it can happen with sellers. It can happen with buyers. It can happen with anybody in the real estate and adjacent industry. What are those skill sets that you have to build the rapport?
So building rapport is going to be essential in any personal or professional situation. Every single business is based off of having strong rapport. It is just a critical component to a successful transaction. Whenever we have a buyer that we're selling deals to, we don't talk about the deal. We talk about the buyer. What is the buyer going to use this property for? We're building that rapport. When we're talking to a seller, we want to learn about the seller. There's an acronym that I use, and it's called FORM, and I teach this in the book. If you master FORM, you will never go off of track of building rapport. People do business with people they like and trust. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right? It could be a $1 transaction, or it could be $100 million transaction. If I don't like someone, or if they've struck a wrong chord, I'm not doing business with them, no matter how much profit it'll make me, because on the inside, I'm not feeling the same way, right? So again, this is about building rapport. Is very, very, very important, especially in the business world, for sure, right? It is the foundation of having a good negotiation. Does that make sense? A foundation for a good negotiation. That's pretty good.
No, it's great, because you talk about it in here. You talk about building rapport, and also, it's funny. And on season 1 of my show, Ron, one of the questions I asked at the end of the episode was, what are one of the best tips and tricks on how you build trust, right? Whether it's with the network you're in or with sellers, and building that rapport, and some of the tips and tricks you talk about lead into that building trust, whether it's with our network or those sellers, right?
Yeah, I'm going to give you 5 major tips to building rapport. There are a billion. I've narrowed it down for you guys, so you don't have to go out and do that research. Number 1, write this down, guys. Number 1 is going to be provide value. When you provide value to your client, when you provide value to your seller, game over. Because they see the value in doing business with you. Does that make sense? Every homeowner is in a different situation. They're going through a death, a probate, right? Job loss. They owe back taxes, repairs on the property, whatever the situation is, right? You cannot be able to solve their problem without building rapport. Number 2, I hope you guys are writing that down. Right? Number 1 was providing value. Number 2 is going to be providing strategy. What do I mean by when I say providing strategy? Now, when you're communicating with a prospect, you can't just tell them that you have a solution for their problem. Hey, you need money? I can close on your house, cash, as is, no realtor committed. You know the lingo, Al. You know how we do, right? You need to be able to provide the strategy to them, right? If you can draw parallels to an existing case study that has that you've solved in a similar requirement or situation, Mr. Seller, feel, felt, found, right? You guys ever heard of that? Right? Mr. Seller, I understand how you feel, right? Again, we know when we're talking to sellers, we know exactly what the situation they're going through, right? Here's what we've found. We've been able to help them out by purchasing the property X, Y, and Z, by blah, 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 blah. It could be anything, right? And then number 3 is going to be understanding their pain. If you do not understand the seller's pain point, you do not have a deal, because that pain point will get you to the finish line. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. You got to know what's bothering them and what they want.
Absolutely, right? Again, right? I talked about kind of, I understand why you feel that way, right? I had another client or customer who had a similar situation that felt the same way. We found this is what works best. Boom, right? Again, finding their pain is critical. It is massive, because they could be going through anything in every situation. I'm going to give you an example. We were talking to a seller one time, and she kept telling us she needed money. She wouldn't tell us why. She kept telling us to come to figure it out. Her son had actually filed a false deed on her house, and he's in jail. He wanted the money for him.
Oh, wow.
She was too ashamed to say something about it, right? So we found that out. We went to jail, not got locked up, but it was funny because one of my acquisition people didn't want to go. I'm like, dude, you're just going to jail to get a signature with an attorney. You're not getting locked up.
Right. You're not going to jail.
I was like, okay, well, I'll go. So anyways, long story short, we went there. We spoke to the guy. He understood what he did. He didn't want another. Again, I had an attorney with me because, again, right? But at the end of the day, it was pretty cool because the guy got some money out of the transaction. He knew what he did was wrong. And the mom was able to move on at the end of the day. We wouldn't have been able to uncover that pain point if we didn't build that rapport with her. And the last that I would talk about, actually the second to last, is going to be make a connection. You got to be connected to people at the end of the day, right? You have to have that connection with people. Why do we go to a doctor? Because we have that connection with that doctor. Does that make sense? We don't just go Google a new doctor every week. No, we're going to go to the doctor that understands, us and our pain point.
Chad, one of the big questions that comes up, right? You get everybody excited about probate. Like, I'll go to presentations, and at the end, everybody's like, ready to go, ready, jumping up to get into this niche. But then the question becomes, well, how do you even get the leads? Right? Like, where do you even get the leads? And you talked about it in the beginning, which was, courthouse stuff. You go to the clerk of the court or stuff, wherever you go, maybe you pull lists and tax delinquents. But ultimately, where do the leads kind of come from in that probate world?
So, they're all coming from the courthouse. It's public data in the vast majority of places. And maybe 15% of the country now you can gather that electronically. But it's not likely that you're going to get it with valid phone numbers for the personal representative. So that's what left an opportunity. Big data, for whatever reason, overlooks that data point. They have almost everything else in a records room, but the big guys have stayed away from it. So we found that, that it was best to actually send a physical, a live researcher into the courthouse to pull the data, bring it back. Then we would use our proprietary skip tracing tools and augment that, add phone numbers. You can get it on your own. You can go to the courthouse. And this is something that I end up coaching on a lot. Like, I would imagine the people watching this show either are or want to be at least running a 6-figure business. And you do the math at 40 hours a week, what does it take to hit that number you're trying to achieve? It's probably a lot more than $7 or $8 an hour. And if you're going to the courthouse spending hours gathering data, it's pen and paper. You leave your cell phone in the truck. So pen and paper in, or paying $1.50 a sheet to get it out. You come back, you put that in a spreadsheet, then you go skip trace it or get it to a VA. Then you have to get it into a database, and then you have to set up your mail merge and send all your letters. And then you have to do it all again in less than 30 days. What I found, and trust me, I did this all manually to begin with. What I found is it compounds very quickly. If you're sending one letter per month to each personal representative in your county, let's just say it's 100 leads. Well, month 1, you have 100 letters. Month 2, you have 200. Month 3 and beyond, you have 300 at critical mass. So you're managing 300 pieces of mail, 300, cells in a spreadsheet. It just becomes counterproductive. If you're a 6-figure earner, you really have no business doing that kind of work. If you have a local assistant that can do it for you, or you hire your own researchers, it's great. But it's typically cheaper to find a company that actually does that and does it better than you ever would, because they're doing it at scale and they have systems. So that's what we built at All the Leads. We provided the CRM for free, the training, we do weekly mastermind calls for free. But the biggest start was the mailing automation. So we had and it's still there. All the Leads still has an internal mailing house. So your leads come from the courthouse, go through a proprietary augmentation. They get delivered to you into your CRM already set up. There's no import export. You can actually manage your list as you prospect. You can opt in or opt out from phone calls, emails, and direct mail. So every time somebody says, no, we already sold the house, there are no assets, you just opt them out, and next month they won't get a letter. So it's constantly managing your list, and it's a free prospecting tool. So the cost of a few $100s a month to have the data on hand with accurate phone numbers in a system that automates your marketing, I think it's a small cost to pay. So I still believe, all the leads, the one check against them, and the only one that I know, is we typically gather data monthly, not daily. And there are companies out there that can provide it at shorter intervals, but they don't provide all the systems and support around it. So as I said, I no longer own my part of that company, but I did build it to kind of work around the model that we've talked about so far. That was really built to automate all of the non-dollar productive parts of what I was doing.
Chad, that's great stuff for people to know. And where you get the leads, and also I thought that was interesting that pulling the data was monthly instead of daily or any other interval in there. Was there a strategy to that? Was there something about waiting a certain duration on the lead that made it more hot than not?
It's mainly cost. So I always kept track of one of the metrics I kept track of. It's the average family, the median number of days nationwide from the date of death to the date of probate filing was 91 days. Or excuse me, that's not right. 68 days was the median. So the most families will wait a couple of months. They go through the grieving process. Then they go visit the courthouse and petition for probate at about the 2-month mark. The reason that all the leads researchers are only in the courthouse once a month is mainly cost. So you have to pay somebody an hourly rate or a per lead rate, but you're also paying them mileage and, asking them to take a few hours out of their day. So if you send them every day and you're paying mileage and paying kind of an activation fee, I mean, the cost will just climb so high in in counties where you can't get it electronically. So we were trying to serve all 3,149 counties. So the model was designed to work as well in a rural market that the person had to drive 2 hours, as well as it was in, the downtown market. So across the board, we chose 30 days. In a lot of markets, they can do bi-weekly. And I think it might be an extra $100 to get it every other week. But a common misconception that I've noticed from the very beginning is everyone feels the same amount of urgency on a probate list as they do an NOD list or an absentee list or, something else. And what I'll tell you is this list is valuable for no less than 24 months. My furthest out closing was 25 months. Well, that's actually not true. The house that I just demoed today sat for 6.5 years, and I bought it for about 8 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
No, I probably got it for like 18 cents on the dollar, and they gave me a hug and were happy to sell it to me for that. So it's a lot of people think that I got to get on this list. All these investors are going to hit it, and there aren't going to be any good deals left. What you'll find is the best deals, the ones that you can buy at the deepest discount, are usually ones that had infighting in the family, or they just stuck their head in the sand, or they were so hurt that they just couldn't deal with it. Those are the ones that come 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years away. And like, I mean, the replacement cost of this asset, not even the ARV, just like as it sits, as is, where is, probably 165, and I got in it for 25. And she hugged me and cried like she was so happy that I was the person buying it. So don't stop marketing to this list until you've spoken to each and every personal representative and you know whether they need your help or not. That's when you quit prospecting the list, is when you've spoken to them.